Hey, this is Luke Renda again on Feel the Link, and I just wanted to say that my last video was a little bit nervous when I was doing it. I was a little tired too, but yeah, I was pretty nervous, which was funny. Normally I'm pretty calm and chilled out guy, but today, since I promised some tools, I wanted to do some writing exercises and introduce the work of Nathaniel Branden a little bit, and combine it with Manly P. Hall, Julia Cameron. But first, I wanted to share. I pulled this card, or this card fell out of my tarot deck when I was about to start doing a video with my friend of mine, Martin Comtois, of Healer and the Dreamer Astrology, and we were doing a series together on Carl Jung. But I wanted to read what this card said because I thought it was so interesting. It says, re-examination, reappraisal, novel approaches, development of new abilities, pursuit of new interests, innovation, interest in the new, seeking new frontiers, application of innate talents and skills, early stages of a project or adventure. So, going with the flow, openness, spontaneity. And that's from Michael Tessarian's book, The Path of the Fool, the meanings of the major and minor arcana. And so I'm going to do a short video here, and I just wanted to bring up some work of Manly P. Hall as well, which I will show you what book I'm actually talking about here. Vital Concept, Personal Growth. A nice alchemical print on the cover. And also, Six Pillars of Self-Esteem by Nathaniel Branden. And since I promised some tools, I will get into those writing tools in a minute. But I just wanted to read this quote because what it talks about in Manly P. Hall's book is that you get to physical maturity naturally, but emotional and mental maturity does not come about naturally, other than the stresses from the natural world that kind of help you get there. But it's actually something that you actually have to put conscious effort into. And I will just start here with the quote from Manly P. Hall, and it says, emotional and mental maturity must be attained by a conscious and purposed action of his own. And then there's another quote here that says, we must come to understand that growth is not merely a biological process measured in terms of years. And we cannot take it for granted that physical maturity bestows all that is necessary for a happy and successful life. So, what he's saying here is that we have to actually put effort into our emotional and mental maturity, especially emotional maturity, because mental stuff, intellectual pursuits, the sciences, they can kind of be done in a way almost to escape the emotional side of life. You almost become intellectually detached, and to go with your emotions, to lead with, to sort of help you hone those emotions in so you're not reacting. And I'm guilty of this too. I have a bad temper, and so one of the things was these writing practices that Nathaniel Branden brings up, which I'll bring to your attention later. And I'll actually go straight into a quote from Branden here. Our minds do not pump knowledge as our hearts pump blood, when and as needed. Our minds do not automatically guide us to act on our best, most rational and informed understanding, even when such understanding would clearly be beneficial. We do not begin to think instinctively merely because non-thinking in a given situation would be dangerous to us. Consciousness does not reflexively expand in the face of the new and unfamiliar. Sometimes we contract it instead. Nature has given us extraordinary responsibility, the option of turning the searchlight of consciousness brighter or dimmer. This is the option of seeking awareness or not bothering to seek it, or actively avoiding it. The option of thinking or not thinking. This is the root of our freedom, and our responsibility. So yeah, it's just kind of repeating and showing the link between Manly P. Hall and Branden in these two books. And yeah, if we are not, it's kind of like the harmonious balance. It's being balancing our emotions, our intellect together, balancing that, and our physical side. Again, if you're not in a physically good health, it's going to affect you emotionally and mentally. So staying in some type of physical health is needed. It's like that quote I read last time from Walter Russell. He was talking about honing the mind, and he said the body is like a tool. But if that tool is not in good working order, your mind won't be able to function and your emotions won't be balanced properly. And I'm gonna do one more quote here from Manly P. Hall, just because it kind of shows what I'm talking about here more concisely. Inconsistency between the internal and external levels of the personality result in stress, tension, and a serious waste of vital resources. Confusion requires more energy than accomplishment, and the so-called normal person is frequently, if not continuously, confused. He does not receive the necessary emotional and mental support to maintain himself properly. And that is from A Vital Concept of Personal Growth. And so there's this woman, Julia Cameron, and she, my friend Martin, actually, he introduced me to her work. And she does the morning pages, which is first thing in the morning. It's a stream of consciousness writing. And you just keep writing, write it, whatever it comes into your mind. And then it kind of is a way of giving a voice to your unconscious, or a voice to your soul. And so you can read that back. Mine, funnily enough, ends up always being in a rhyme. And I can't not rhyme it. I don't know what it is. It just always is rhyming. It's so weird. I can't think of a word that isn't a rhyme. Like, even when I try to. You're supposed to just stream it so you don't think about it. But what Branden does is he does unfinished sentence stems, which kind of will hone into a particular problem maybe that you're having, or somewhere where you need to put more awareness. And what that does is it's kind of like the stream of consciousness, but in a more directed way. And I'll give you a few examples in a bit. I just want to read from Branden because he explains his sentence stem a little bit more concisely. One way to bring consciousness to life and to your imperial self, or your soul, is to create a dialogue with your unconscious. This is my writings here. Morning pages, as shown by Julia Cameron, is one way. This is a stream of consciousness writing, done in the morning first thing. You simply write down whatever comes to mind without self-editing. By reading this back to yourself, you are bringing conscious awareness to your unconscious. Now, Dr. Branden does it another way, with an incomplete sentence stem that are somewhat directed towards something that you need to focus conscious energy on. So I'm just reading my own writing to kind of put it in a more concise and structured way. But now here is from Dr. Branden. The essence of the method is that the client, or subject, is given a sentence stem, an incomplete sentence, and asked to repeat the stem over and over again, each time providing a different ending. Then another stem is given, and then allowing one to explore a particular area at deeper and deeper levels. This work may be done verbally or in writing. Sentence completion work play a vital role in determining what things people do that raise or lower self-esteem. And I'm just going to continue reading Branden, and then I will get into examples of his sentence stems. Since the self-esteem is a consequence, a product of internally generated practices, we cannot work on self-esteem directly, neither our own nor anyone else's. We must address ourselves to the source. If we understand what these practices are, we cannot commit to initiating them within ourselves. We can commit to initiating them within ourselves and to dealing with others in such a way as to facilitate or encourage them to do likewise. And I'm just going to finish off these last quotes here, and then I will give you examples of sentence stems. Quote, once we understand these practices, we have the power to choose them, to work on integrating them into our way of life. One does not have to attain perfection in these practices. One only needs to raise one's average level of performance to experience growth in self-efficacy, and self-respect. I have often witnessed the most extraordinary changes in people's lives as a result of relatively small improvements in these practices. In fact, I encourage clients to think in terms of small steps rather than big ones because big ones can intimidate and paralyze, while small ones seem more attainable, and one small step leads to another. And so that's basically the video in a nutshell, and I just want to give a few examples of these sentence stems so that people kind of know what I am talking about here and how they are sort of laid out. And this one is about awareness, which is one of his 6 pillars of self-esteem. So here we go. So you start with a sentence stem that starts with, if I bring 5% more awareness to my activities today, blank. If I pay more attention to how I deal with people today, blank. Then, if I bring 5% more awareness to my most important relationships, blank. Then, if I bring 5% more awareness and fill in a particular problem you are concerned about, for example, your relationship with someone, or a barrier you've hit at work, or your feelings or anxiety, or depression. And then when you finish this process, at the end of the day, come back and do another one. And read your sentence stems. And so when I reflect on how I would feel if I lived more consciously, blank. When I reflect on what happens when I bring 5% awareness to my activities, blank. When I reflect on what happens when I bring 5% more awareness to my most important relationships. When I reflect on what happens when I bring 5% more awareness to whatever you have filled in. And this is just a way of kind of honing in on certain issues. It's kind of like the stream of consciousness writing, but by reading it back, you can actually start to understand more about yourself and what the problems actually are. And it's kind of it works in a weird way. It's like this, it's sort of bypassing your conscious mind in order for you to be able to focus consciously on it, which is the only way you're going to be able to self-develop. And yeah, that's what all these videos are about that I'm trying to do, is just trying to help people with self-development. And because right now, like the video I'm going to do with Martin, MC Starman, the Healer and the Dreamer Astrology, is about Carl Jung and the undiscovered self, which is about the individual and where his place is in society and what's going to happen here. And we just have to keep shoring ourselves up and not meld into the collective, be individuals. We can still have a community if you're an individual and the community is of individuals. If they're just trying to make you mind meld with them or whatever, it's going to be disastrous, which we're seeing right now in the world. Look how crazy everyone's acting. I'm just going to tell you a few more sentence stems here, and then I'm going to go because I just did a video with Martin, and I'm feeling a little sapped with my energy. So it's, if I bring 5% or more awareness to my needs and wants, my deepest values and goals, my emotions, my priorities, my depression, my insecurities, my concerns about whatever, fill it in, impulses to avoid unpleasant facts. And what Branden does is, he was a contemporary of Ayn Rand, and it's all about consciousness, rationality, and bringing these things. And it's a very actually simple way of, like the Carl Jung work and Freud and stuff is a lot deeper, and it's a lot harder, and it's a little bit more amorphous. But with Branden and Rand, it's very practical work. And yeah, not too many people that I talked to, no one's even heard of Nathaniel Branden. And he, I first heard about him actually from a guy called Curtis Davis. Curtis, the Illuminated One Davis. It was at a Free Your Mind in Philadelphia. I don't know, 10 years ago. And he did a whole presentation on Branden. And maybe if I can get a hold of that guy, I'd like to talk to him about it. But yeah, it's fascinating work. It's very, very encouraging for the self, for an individuation process, and it's very practical and really down to earth. And so I hope that these videos are going to help people, and because that's what I want to do. I want to help people. I'm doing this just because, and it's helping me. It's helping me doing this stuff. I'm doing more of the work myself. When I started to prepare for this video, I started doing my sentence stems again. I started to, really focus on it because, again, like I say, I have an anger problem. I need to put, if I can put more awareness between what happens that makes me angry and then my reaction to it, if I can keep widening that gap 5%, 5%, 5%, then I can actually choose my reactions. I'm not reacting, and now I have this conscious choice of what is going to happen next. And it just keep widening the gap between that. And with the unconscious, like what Manly P. Hall was saying, you have to put conscious effort into your emotions. When you react unconsciously, it's things from your past. It's kind of like martial arts. I've done martial arts in my life. I was doing a lot of jiu-jitsu, and your natural reactions, just because of your instincts and stuff like that, they aren't actually what you want to be doing in a certain situation, like in a combat or a fight. So what you do is you keep doing the moves over and over and over again until you don't have to think about them. So you're almost programming your instincts and your unconscious to work the way that you want it to work, so that you don't actually have to think about it. And eventually this stuff is just as natural as breathing. And, Qigong practices are like that too. Eventually you're just focusing on breathing and your arms are doing the movements, right? Your arms are doing the moves and you're just breathing in and out, and it's making your body move because you've trained it that way. And that's another thing I want to talk about too, is some more body stuff that people can get into, because a lot of our traumas are stored in our bodies as well, even into the muscle tissues and stuff like that. And so I want to bring that stuff to people's attention, and hopefully this can help people. Okay, I'm Luke Renda, and this is called Feel the Link. Thank you. Hope you enjoyed it. Good day.